Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be talking about inner peace.
Ooh, inner peace. That's a good one.
Yeah, so we found this video on YouTube called How to Make No One and Nothing Affect You Ever Again, Carl.
Okay.
And it's by this channel called Psychotic. And I thought it was super interesting because it really kind of dives into like how our interpretations of the world actually are reality.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that video to me is like they don't shy away from the fact that most people are not experiencing inner peace, right? Like we all kind of put on this brave face for society and, we go to work and we have our families and things. But like underneath it all, I think there's kind of this undercurrent of anxiety for a lot of people, right? Or like racing thoughts or maybe just a feeling of emptiness.
Yeah, totally. And I think what's cool is that it doesn't frame inner peace as this like unattainable thing, that only monks on mountaintops can. But it really is like something that we can cultivate by understanding how we interpret our experiences.
Yeah, a big part of that is recognizing that, our reality is largely a projection of our internal state.
Ooh, I like that.
And the video gives this really powerful example of like two people experiencing the same event and one person is like deeply affected by it and the other person just kind of moves on effortlessly. And the key difference there is their interpretation.
Right. So we're filtering everything through, our beliefs and our past wounds and our unconscious patterns and all of that. Yeah. So it's not about ignoring negative emotions or pretending we don't have them.
Right.
It's about like learning to observe them without letting them completely dictate our experience.
Yeah.
So how do we even begin to do that?
Well, this is where Carl Jung's ideas about the unconscious mind come into play.
Okay.
Jung believed that until we make the unconscious conscious, right? Like until we become aware of those unconscious thoughts and patterns, they will continue to run the show.
Oh, that's interesting. It's like we're on autopilot. We're just reacting in these predictable ways to things because we haven't really examined like what are the underlying beliefs that are driving our behavior.
So it's like if someone has social anxiety, is that like their inner child perceiving some kind of threat?
Yeah.
It's almost like we're these walking collections of past experiences that are shaping how we react in the present.
That's such a good way to put it, and think about like the messages you received growing up.
Yeah.
The expectations from your family or from society, even like the subtle ways that you learn to cope with difficult emotions.
Right.
All of that gets woven into our unconscious and it can play out in our adult lives without us even realizing.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack.
It is.
Makes you wonder how much of our behavior is actually driven by conscious choice versus these ingrained patterns.
Yeah.
So how do we break free from that autopilot mode?
Right.
And actually start consciously shaping our reality? Well, the video seems to suggest that it's not about controlling what happens to us, but more about how we respond to it. True freedom lies not in like manipulating external circumstances, which is often impossible, but in mastering our internal response.
I see.
And they use this really powerful analogy of the mind being like a river.
Okay.
If you try to stop the current of the river, it's exhausting.
Okay.
But if you learn to kind of flow with it, that allows you to observe your thoughts and your emotions without getting completely swept away by them.
So instead of like trying to dam up the river, we learn to ride the waves.
Exactly.
Okay. But wouldn't that make it hard to like work towards goals or avoid things that genuinely hurt us?
That's a great question. And it's not about becoming passive or indifferent.
Okay.
The video really focuses on detachment, not as apathy, but as a way to loosen the grip of our reactions.
Gotcha.
So if we can observe our emotions without immediately identifying with them, that creates space for a more conscious response.
So it's kind of shifting from I am angry to like I'm noticing that I'm feeling angry right now.
Exactly.
Okay, I see how that could help, avoid like an impulsive reaction or getting stuck in a negative thought spiral.
Exactly. And this really resonates with a lot of Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes that it's our response to events, not the events themselves, that truly shape our experience.
Whoa, yeah.
Think about it. We can't control what life throws our way, but we can choose how we interpret it and how we react to it.
This is reminding me of that quote, like life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it.
Yes, exactly.
The easier said than done, right?
Absolutely. It's a practice.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest obstacles that the video highlights is our tendency toward distraction.
Okay, that's interesting because I think most people think of distraction as like external,
Yeah.
Like social media or noisy environments. But the video is suggesting that the real culprit is internal distraction.
Yes.
So is this like our inner chatter, the constant stream of thought?
Exactly. And the video makes this really interesting point that most of us actively avoid silence and stillness because it forces us to confront our inner truths, our fears, our anxieties.
Right.
It's easier to just kind of fill the void with noise and busyness than to actually sit with the discomfort of being alone with ourselves.
That's so true. We live in a world of constant stimulation.
We do.
I think a lot of us have lost touch with that inner quiet space.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what does the video suggest we do about that? Because it seems counterintuitive to seek out discomfort if we're aiming for inner...
It is counterintuitive, and that's what makes it so powerful.
Okay.
The video suggests that facing this inner silence is actually the key to unlocking genuine peace.
So we're talking about like intentionally carving out time for stillness.
Yes.
Like meditation or just being alone with our thoughts.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that in those moments of stillness, when we actually confront our fears and anxieties head on, we build resilience and the ability to find peace even amidst chaos.
Yeah.
It's like strengthening a muscle. The more we practice being present with our internal experience, the less reactive we become to external circumstances.
Okay, that's starting to make a lot of sense. So instead of running from discomfort, we learn to sit with it.
Yes.
And observe it without judgment.
Exactly.
Okay, but how does letting go fit into all of this?
Right.
I know that's another big theme in the video.
It is. It's a crucial piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
And it goes beyond just letting go of grudges and past pain.
Okay.
The video really challenges us to let go of the need to control everything, to release the expectation that life should always go our way.
That's a tough one. Letting go of control can feel so...
It can.
I mean, isn't some level of control necessary to achieve our goals and create a life we love?
Of course, we need to take action and make choices.
Okay.
But the video argues that when we become fixated on controlling outcome, on forcing things to fit our expectations, that's when suffering arises. It's like clinging to a raft in a raging river instead of learning to swim.
So what's the alternative? How do we loosen our grip on control without feeling like we're just surrendering to the chaos?
Right. I'm intrigued to hear what the video has to say about this. The video offers a really beautiful analogy. It says, life is like a mirror reflecting back to us our internal state. So if there's chaos inside, we see chaos everywhere. But if we cultivate peace within, that's what we experience, regardless of what's happening around us.
So it's not about white-knuckling our way through life, trying to control every outcome. It's about shifting our focus inward and tending to that inner garden.
Exactly. And this is where acceptance becomes key. You know, it's not about resigning ourselves to difficult situations or giving up on our goals.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging what is letting go of our resistance to reality and trusting that we have the inner resources to navigate whatever comes our way.
It sounds like a paradox, surrendering to the flow of life while also empowering ourselves to handle whatever comes up. How does the video address the concept of resilience? It seems like that would play a huge role in finding inner, especially when life throws curveballs.
Resilience is essential, and the video defines it not just as enduring hardship, but as the ability to transform suffering into growth. Think of a forest fire. You know, it can be devastating, but it also clears the way for new growth, or coal under pressure transforming into a diamond.
I love those analogies. It's not about avoiding suffering altogether, but about changing our relationship with it.
Exactly.
Seeing it as an opportunity for learning and growth. It's almost like alchemy, taking something painful and using it to create something stronger and more beautiful.
Exactly. The video highlights that those who achieve unshakable peace haven't necessarily had easier lives,
Right.
but they've learned to use their pain as a catalyst for growth and transformation.
Okay, that leads us to one of the more intense concepts in the video, the death of the ego. What exactly does that mean, and how does it relate to cultivating inner...
It's about letting go of the story we tell ourselves about who we are. It's about releasing our attachment to our identities, our beliefs, even our past wounds, and being open to becoming something new.
It sounds a bit like shedding a skin, almost like a snake. But isn't our identity important? Our experiences, our stories? They're part of what makes us unique.
Absolutely. But the video argues that when we cling too tightly to those stories, when our sense of self becomes rigid and inflexible, it limits our growth. It prevents us from evolving into who we could become.
So it's not about erasing our past or pretending it didn't happen. It's about loosening the grip it has on us so we can step into a new, more expansive version of ourselves.
Exactly. And this death of the ego can be scary because it involves stepping into the unknown.
Right.
You know, our ego loves certainty and familiarity, even if it means clinging to suffering.
Right.
But it's in that uncertainty and that willingness to let go of who we think we are that true freedom and peace reside.
That's interesting because the video also talks about like the fear of uncertainty as another trap on the path to inner peace.
It is.
How can we embrace letting go of control and the ego if we're constantly worried about what might happen?
It comes back to that idea of interpreting events. You know, the fear of the unknown isn't really about the uncertainty itself,
Okay.
but about the stories we tell ourselves about what could happen. You know, our minds are expert storytellers,
Oh, yeah.
often weaving worst-case scenarios that just amplify our anxieties.
It's like our inner critic going into overdrive, creating all this drama in our heads that may never actually play out in reality.
Right.
So how do we quiet that inner critic and embrace uncertainty without spiraling into fear and worry?
The video video suggests that we need to shift our perspective. Instead of seeing uncertainty as the enemy,
Okay.
we can start to see it as the space where possibilities are born, where creativity flourishes, where the most unexpected and beautiful things can happen.
That's a powerful reframe. It's like choosing to see life as an adventure rather than a threat.
Exactly. And that's where our internal dialogue plays a crucial role.
Ah, yes. The voice in our heads. We can be our own worst critics, can't we?
Absolutely. And the video emphasizes that the way we talk to ourselves has a profound impact on our well-being. If our inner voice is constantly negative and critical, we'll never be able to find true peace. It's like we're carrying around an inner bully who's constantly putting us down.
So how do we turn that inner critic into an inner ally? Is that even possible?
It absolutely is. The video highlights that we have the power to reprogram our minds to be more supportive, more compassionate, and more encouraging. It's about becoming our own best friend instead of our own worst enemy.
Okay, I love that. So how do we start that reprogramming process? What kind of practical advice does the video offer?
It emphasizes the importance of self-compassion, of learning from our mistakes instead of punishing ourselves for them. It's about cultivating a more positive and empowering inner voice.
Okay.
One that speaks to us with kindness and understanding.
It sounds like inner peace is a journey, not a destination.
It is.
It's about making a conscious choice each day to tend to our inner world, to cultivate a more positive internal dialogue, and to face our fears with courage and compassion.
That's beautifully put. And it's a journey that requires constant awareness effort and a willingness to challenge those ingrained patterns of thinking and behaving that no longer serve us.
Wow. So much of what we've talked about feels both like profound and a bit daunting.
It is, yeah.
Like if we're aiming for this unshakable inner peace, where do we even begin?
The video emphasizes that peace isn't something we find, but something that we cultivate through daily practice.
Okay.
It's built moment by moment, thought by thought, decision by decision.
So it's about becoming more conscious of like how we react.
Yeah.
How we interpret situations, even how we talk to ourselves.
Yeah.
It makes you realize we have way more agency than we often give ourselves credit for.
We do. We have so much power in each moment.
Right. So it's not about waiting for our circumstances to change.
Right.
Or for other people to behave differently.
Exactly.
It's about finding that peace within ourselves, regardless of what's happening around us.
Yeah.
It really is an inside job. So this has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I'm already starting to think differently about inner and how to cultivate it in my own life. What stood out to you as the most important takeaway?
For me, it's the reminder that true peace isn't the absence of conflict or challenges. It's the ability to find stillness and clarity within ourselves, even in the midst of life's storm. It's about trusting that we have the inner resources to navigate whatever comes our way and to emerge from those experiences even stronger and more resilient.
I love that it's like finding that inner anchor that keeps us grounded no matter what life throws our way. So as we wrap up, I'd like to leave our listeners with a question to ponder. What's one small step you can take today to cultivate more inner peace in your own life? It could be as simple as taking a few minutes to practice mindful breathing or noticing your inner dialogue and choosing to speak to yourself with more kindness and compassion. Remember, the path to peace begins with a single step.
And the journey itself is incredibly rewarding as you cultivate inner peace. You'll not only experience greater calm and well-being, but you'll also find yourself more resilient, more creative, and more connected to yourself and the world around you.
So embrace the journey, explore Carl Jung's work, delve into Stoic philosophy, and most importantly, start cultivating your own unshakable inner peace. Until next time, keep diving deep.